You probably refrigerate these foods thinking you're protecting your health. But what if I told you this habit could actually be harming your digestion, increasing inflammation, and even triggering joint pain? That's right. Refrigerating certain everyday foods can destroy key nutrients, alter their chemistry, and turn healthy meals into hidden health risks. And most seniors have no idea they're doing it. In this video, you'll discover 6 common foods that should never go in the fridge, and why keeping them cold could be sabotaging your energy, your gut, and your immune system. Stay with me, because number 4 is something almost everyone refrigerates without realizing the danger. And before we dive in, drop a comment below. What's one food in your fridge you're not sure about? Food number 1, tomatoes. Let's start with one of the most common mistakes people make in the kitchen: putting tomatoes in the fridge. It seems harmless, right? You bring them home from the store and, without thinking, toss them in the vegetable drawer. But here's the problem. Refrigerating tomatoes doesn't just ruin their flavor, it actually damages their health benefits in a way most people don't realize. Tomatoes are packed with powerful antioxidants like lycopene, a compound that helps protect your heart, fight inflammation, and even reduce the risk of certain cancers. But here's the catch. When you refrigerate tomatoes, especially before they're fully ripe, the cold actually breaks down their cell walls. This not only makes the texture mealy and unpleasant, but it also stops the natural ripening process that increases their nutritional value. Think of it like this: a tomato is still alive after it's picked. It continues to ripen, develop flavor, and build nutrients. But when you put it in the fridge, that process shuts down. It's like hitting the pause button on a plant's metabolism, and worse, cold temperatures trigger a process that damages the membranes inside the fruit, reducing the availability of antioxidants like lycopene and vitamin C, 2 nutrients especially important as we age. Now let's talk about what this means for your health. Lycopene is one of the most researched antioxidants when it comes to heart health and brain protection. Studies have shown that higher levels of lycopene in the blood are associated with a lower risk of Alzheimer's disease and cardiovascular problems. So if you're refrigerating your tomatoes and cutting their lycopene content, you're unknowingly reducing one of the simplest, most affordable ways to protect your body. And it gets worse. When tomatoes lose flavor and texture, people tend to compensate by adding more salt, heavy sauces, or processed seasonings, especially if they're cooking for others or trying to mask the blandness. That extra sodium can raise blood pressure and put even more stress on your heart. So what's the right way to store tomatoes? Simple. Keep them at room temperature, out of direct sunlight, and let them ripen naturally. If they're not quite ripe when you bring them home, place them stem side down on the counter. Once fully ripe, they'll last a few more days without refrigeration. And here's a bonus tip. If you cut a tomato and don't use the whole thing, store the rest in an airtight container in the fridge, but try to eat it within 24 hours. That way, you minimize nutrient loss while avoiding waste. This one change might seem small, but the impact over time is huge. By simply storing your tomatoes the right way, you preserve their nutrients, their flavor, and protect your long-term health, especially your heart, brain, and immune system. Food number 2, bread. Let's talk about bread. Most people think refrigerating bread is a smart way to make it last longer, but the truth is, you might be turning a simple, wholesome food into something harder to digest and even harmful to your gut health. And for older adults, this mistake can lead to bloating, gas, and uncomfortable digestion that gets worse over time. Here's what's really happening when you put bread in the fridge. Cold temperatures accelerate a process called starch retrogradation. Sounds fancy, but here's what it means. The natural starches in bread start to crystallize and harden much faster in the fridge than at room temperature. That's why refrigerated bread gets stiff, dry, and stale so quickly, even faster than if you left it out on the counter. But it's not just about texture. These hardened starches become harder for your body to break down, especially as we age and digestion slows. This can cause a whole range of uncomfortable symptoms like gas, bloating, and sluggish digestion. You might blame it on just getting older, when really it's your bread working against you. And here's something even more important. When bread becomes harder to digest, it can irritate your gut lining, especially if you already struggle with sensitive digestion or conditions like IBS or leaky gut. Over time, this irritation can lead to poor nutrient absorption, low energy, and even a weakened immune system. And let's not forget, most commercial breads are already made with refined flour, preservatives, and added sugars. When you refrigerate them, you're not preserving quality. You're just prolonging the shelf life of an already low-nutrient food. Some people then toast the cold bread to make it edible again, but that adds another layer of concern. toasting can create compounds called acrylamides, especially in white bread, which have been linked to inflammation and oxidative stress when consumed frequently. Now, you might be wondering, so how should I store my bread? Here's the best approach. If you plan to eat your bread within a few days, keep it in a cool, dry pantry inside a sealed bag. If you want to keep it longer, freeze it. Yes, the freezer is actually safer than the fridge for bread. Frozen bread maintains its texture and nutrients much better than refrigerated bread. Just take out what you need, toast it lightly, and enjoy without the bloating or digestive issues. And one more tip, choose better bread. Look for whole grain, sprouted, or sourdough breads made with simple, natural ingredients. These types of bread are not only easier to digest, but they also feed your good gut bacteria and support healthier blood sugar levels, something that becomes more important with each passing decade. So next time you go to put that loaf in the fridge, remember this, you're not just saving bread, you're protecting your gut, your digestion, and your overall comfort. And that's something your future self will thank you for. Food number 3, onions. Here's a food almost everyone refrigerates without thinking twice. Onions. You buy a bag, toss it in the fridge, and move on. But here's what most people don't realize. Refrigerating onions doesn't just change their taste and texture, it can also lead to harmful health effects, especially if you're over 60. First, let's talk about what the cold does to onions. Onions are meant to be stored in cool, dry, and well-ventilated places, not in the cold, humid environment of a refrigerator. When you put onions in the fridge, the moisture causes them to soften and break down much faster. That mushy texture you sometimes get, that's the beginning of rot. And it gets worse. The fridge's humidity creates the perfect breeding ground for mold and bacteria. These invisible intruders can grow between the onion's layers, especially once the skin starts to soften. You may not even notice it, but when you cut into a refrigerated onion, you could be exposing yourself to mycotoxins, toxic compounds produced by mold. And long-term exposure to these toxins has been linked to liver stress, weakened immunity, and in severe cases, even cancer risk. Now, you might think, well, I peel the outer layers anyway, so I'm fine. But here's the thing. Mold spores can penetrate deeper than you think. And once they're there, no amount of peeling will remove the risk completely. Plus, if you have a sensitive digestive system or a compromised immune system, which becomes more common as we age, your body is less equipped to deal with these hidden threats. And here's another issue. Onions stored in the fridge can actually absorb moisture and odors from other foods around them. So not only are they going soft, but they're also picking up bacteria and smells from meat, dairy, or whatever else is nearby. That doesn't just affect the taste. It can throw off your gut health, especially if you already struggle with bloating, indigestion, or food sensitivities. So how should you store onions? Keep them in a dry, ventilated basket or mesh bag at room temperature away from potatoes. Why not potatoes? Because they release moisture and gases that accelerate spoilage in onions. A pantry or a dark corner of the kitchen works perfectly. And remember, once you cut an onion, that's a different story. Sliced onions should be stored in an airtight container in the fridge and used within 1 to 2 days to avoid bacterial growth. And here's something that might surprise you. Onions are actually loaded with powerful health benefits when stored and consumed correctly. They're rich in quercetin, an antioxidant that helps fight inflammation, boost your immune system, and may even support healthy blood pressure. But improper storage can ruin those benefits before they ever reach your plate. So if you want to keep enjoying the protective power of onions without the hidden health risks, do your body a favor and take them out of the fridge. Your immune system, your liver, and your digestive health will thank you. Food number 4, potatoes. Potatoes are a staple in most kitchens. They're affordable, filling, and incredibly versatile. But here's the mistake many people still make. They put raw potatoes in the fridge. And while it might seem like a smart way to make them last longer, refrigerating potatoes can actually trigger chemical changes that are harmful to your health. Let's break it down. When potatoes are exposed to cold temperatures, something strange happens. The starches inside them begin to convert into sugar much faster than they would at room temperature. This process is called cold-induced sweetening. Sounds innocent enough, right? But here's the catch. When those sugar-loaded potatoes are later baked, roasted, or fried, they can form acrylamide, a chemical compound linked to nerve damage, hormonal disruption, and even increased cancer risk. Acrylamide is classified as a potential carcinogen, and studies have shown that it forms in starchy foods cooked at high temperatures, especially when those foods were cold stored beforehand. That means your go-to roasted potatoes, hash browns, or crispy oven fries could be delivering a dose of something your body definitely doesn't need, and older adults should be especially careful. With age, our detox systems naturally slow down, meaning the liver and kidneys bodies become less efficient at clearing out harmful substances. So while a younger body might handle occasional acrylamide exposure better, seniors could be facing a higher long-term risk of cellular damage and inflammation from something as simple as cold-stored potatoes. But it doesn't stop there. Refrigerating potatoes can also affect their texture and flavor. The extra sugars give them an oddly sweet, artificial taste once cooked, and not in a good way. You might find yourself adding more oil, salt, or sauces just to mask the off flavor, which can lead to higher sodium intake and more inflammation overall. So how should you store them? The best way to keep potatoes fresh and safe is at cool, dark room temperature, around 45 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit, 7 to 13 degrees Celsius. A pantry, cellar, or cupboard away from direct sunlight is ideal. And here's an important tip. Don't store them near onions. While it's a common combo in kitchen drawers, onions release gases that can cause potatoes to spoil faster. If you ever see green spots or sprouting on your potatoes, that's another sign of trouble. Green patches indicate the presence of solanine, a natural toxin that can cause nausea, headaches, and even neurological issues in high amounts. And sprouted potatoes, toss them. Those sprouts aren't just ugly, they're a signal the potato is breaking down and may no longer be safe to eat. So the next time you bring home a bag of potatoes, skip the fridge and store them the old-fashioned way. It's a small habit shift that can protect you from long-term health risks and help you enjoy your meals with peace of mind. Food number 5, coffee. If you love your morning cup of coffee, you're not alone. For millions of people, it's the first thing they reach for each day. But here's a common mistake that could be ruining both the taste and the health benefits of your coffee: storing it in the refrigerator. Let's start with the obvious. Coffee is highly absorbent. The grounds and even whole beans soak up moisture and odors like a sponge. So when you store coffee in the fridge, it doesn't just get cold, it absorbs the smell and flavor of everything around it. That leftover fish, the onions in the vegetable drawer, your coffee will start to taste like your fridge instead of that rich, smooth roast you were expecting. But this isn't just about flavor. Coffee is packed with antioxidants, especially chlorogenic acids, which help reduce inflammation, support brain health, and protect your blood vessels. These compounds are sensitive to air, light, and moisture. So when coffee is kept in the fridge, the condensation from temperature changes begins to break down these antioxidants, leaving your morning brew with less nutritional power and more bitterness. Now let's look at the health impact. When these antioxidants break down, coffee becomes more acidic and irritating to the stomach. This is especially important for older adults, many of whom already deal with digestive issues like acid reflux, gastritis, or sensitive stomach linings. If you've ever felt queasy or jittery after drinking coffee, poor storage could be making it worse. And there's more. Storing ground coffee in the fridge encourages oxidation, a process that degrades oils in the coffee and creates rancid compounds. These compounds don't just taste bad, they may increase oxidative stress in the body, which is linked to aging, chronic inflammation, and even cognitive decline over time. Now, some people think they're doing the right thing by storing their beans in the fridge or freezer to keep them fresh. But unless the coffee is vacuum sealed, that cold environment is doing more harm than good. Every time you take it out, condensation forms, creating moisture that ruins the integrity of the beans or grounds. So what should you do instead? Store your coffee in an airtight container in a cool, dry, dark place, like a pantry or cupboard. Keep it away from heat, light, and moisture. If you buy in bulk, consider splitting it up. Keep a small container for daily use and store the rest sealed tightly until you're ready for it. And here's a bonus tip. If you're drinking coffee for energy and focus, opt for freshly ground beans. Pre-ground coffee loses its antioxidants and flavor much faster than whole beans. Even grinding just a small amount each day can help you get the most out of every cup, both in taste and in health benefits. So before you reach for that fridge door, remember this: how you store your coffee matters. Keep it fresh, flavorful, and full of its natural health-boosting compounds, because your body deserves better than stale, nutrient-depleted brew. Food number 6, basil. It smells amazing, adds instant flavor to any dish, and even looks beautiful sitting on your windowsill. But if you've been storing fresh basil in the fridge, we need to talk. Because this popular herb is a lot more delicate than it looks. And when you refrigerate it, you're not just ruining the flavor, you're also stripping away the powerful health benefits basil has to offer. Let's start with the basics. Basil is a tropical herb. It thrives in warmth and wilts in the cold. So when you put it in the refrigerator, the low temperature actually burns the leaves, turning them dark, slimy, and lifeless within a couple of days. But here's what most people don't know. Those wilted leaves have also lost their medicinal power. Fresh basil contains essential oils like eugenol, linalool, and citral, compounds that give the herb its signature aroma and, more importantly, its anti-inflammatory and antibacterial properties. These natural oils are incredibly sensitive to cold. Refrigerating basil causes them to break down rapidly, meaning every day in the fridge, your basil is losing more of what makes it good for you. And why does that matter? Because basil isn't just a flavor booster, it's been used for centuries in natural medicine to support the immune system, reduce inflammation, and even relieve joint pain. Eugenol, in particular, has been shown to block inflammatory enzymes in the body, similar to how over-the-counter painkillers work, but without the side effects. So if you're dealing with arthritis, frequent colds, or low-grade inflammation, basil could be helping, unless you're refrigerating it. And here's another hidden danger. Cold, damp conditions in the fridge can lead to mold growth, especially if basil is wrapped in plastic or stored near moisture. That's a big problem for anyone with allergies, asthma, or a sensitive immune system, because mold exposure, even in tiny amounts, can trigger respiratory symptoms, fatigue, and gut irritation. So what's the best way to store basil? If it's still on the stem, treat it like a bouquet of flowers. Trim the ends and place it in a glass of water on the counter, out of direct sunlight. You can loosely cover the leaves with a breathable bag to slow down wilting. It'll stay fresh for several days and keep its flavor and healing oils intact. Just change the water daily. Already picked and off the stem? Store it in a paper towel-lined container at room temperature with the lid slightly open for air circulation. And if you must refrigerate it, make it short-term, no more than a day or two, and keep it dry. Here's one more tip. If you have too much basil and don't want it to go to waste, chop it up, mix with a little olive oil, and freeze it in ice cube trays. This preserves the oils, flavor, and nutrients far better than the fridge and gives you a healthy burst of basil whenever you need it. So the next time you bring basil home, skip the fridge. You'll preserve its flavor, protect its medicinal properties, and avoid turning a healing herb into a soggy, useless mess. So there you have it. 6 everyday foods you should never put in the fridge. These small storage mistakes can steal nutrients, trigger inflammation, and even raise health risks over time. But the good news? A few simple changes can protect your digestion, your energy, and your immune system. If this helped you, share it with a friend and hit that subscribe button. Your health deserves smart choices every day.